Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 29th episode of Book of Hours, our first run through House of Light on YouTube. And again, more meta discussion. This is a weird one for me. I actually fell asleep. I was uploading the video. I fell asleep, had this game running in the background all night. So I am probably going to have to run. I'm recording this before I go to work, and I'm going to have a very, very, very strict end time for this one. So if it abruptly ends, that is the reason why. But looks like we're on track for getting everything done. Sorry, looks like we're on track for getting everything done today. Now, I'm just taking a look at my list here of things that I want to do. I didn't really make a whole lot of to-dos, but I know we were working on salon invitations, and we just finished reading a book. I think we can get some of the others, though. So we have It Is Written. This would get us Inks of Power. The Orchid Transfigurations. Now, the trick on that one was I needed a Satisfaction, which I don't currently have. Glimmerings is an interesting one. I don't remember if we have Sights and Sensations. We do. So theoretically, that one might be turned into something else, and I feel like that's maybe a decision I want to take on a later day. So let's see what I can do with It Is Written. I think this one takes a little bit more than I have. Pentiments and Precursors is my best bet here. So that'll give us 3, 4... Excuse me. Okay, so we can get 6 with the memory, right, but then we get 8 with the ink. How much do I want this? So if, what does it give me again? Inks of Power. Okay, I feel like this is one that's, it's worth taking the plunge for. So, we're going to read a book with Fear. I'm also going to make the replacement ink. In fact, we could probably make that while we get the Fear. Brew an ink that will ward off worms, although only the least of their kind. Against my better judgment, I think I'm also going to drop the water. And we will make a little bit of money. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Okay, so those are the basics for the day taken care of. If I want to... I believe if I want to bring in Inks of Power, I'm actually going to need a health to upgrade it, so I should remember that in terms of restoring elements of the soul. But until that happens, let's keep the Tryst aside for... We'll keep the Tryst aside for making more ink. I don't think it would hurt to catalog another book, so we'll do that now. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Solar Gothic period, roughly between the 1000s to 1500s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. And then I will also take the one of the baronial period books, and we're going to use the Shap to read that. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it contains. So the last thing that I wanted to do for today, at least in terms of my... as you've probably noticed, I kind of like to have a few goals for the day, which is funny because I don't actually do that for myself. When I run into... like, if I'm at work, like, obviously I'll have the things that I want to do, but I don't normally sit down and say, you know, here's the set of objectives for the day's work. But the big question for me now is, what am I going to try and accomplish for the salon? So right now, my options are Serena, who has Forge, Fraser, who is Scale, Olympi, which is Forge, Arthur, which is Lantern, Corso, which is Grail, although he's brought using Lantern, and then Schaller, who is also who's Heart. I should also say that Douglas is not included in there, but he's like Arthur. Now, my feeling here is that the people who are most likely to keep me from achieving all of the challenges are the ones with lanterns. So let's do a different salon, and I'm gonna just write this on my tablet because I know this is the sort of thing I'm gonna forget. So if I have 5 guests and I want to avoid the ones with lantern, which feels like a terrible heresy for me to say, I like lantern. So we could make Serena, and then Olympi, Fraser. I can't invite Schaller because I theoretically I can, but I don't have him in the book yet. So let's just assume he's not available to me right now. So we've got Serena, Fraser, Madame Bichet, Corso. Well, I mean, I guess at that point it's, do I bring in Denzel or do I bring in do I try and bring in one of the Moors? Good question. Okay. As a, I guess as like a plan B or an escape, what I'll maybe do is I'll say the last spot can go to Douglas Arthur or Stanislav John Schaller. And what I'll try and do is pick something that has heart and lead. Well, okay, so if I need lantern... okay, actually, here's the good news. Everything that I know how to make with lantern also has heart. So maybe I'll just limit myself to, when it comes to things to make for Schaller, we can... so maybe a golden marrow or an orange jumble. I could also invite Denzel. Actually, that'll also spare me the... yeah, let's actually make it Denzel. Okay, so if we're bringing in Serena, we want Forge. And for my Forge options for food, I don't want to get too clever with this. Well, the orange jumble is a very useful one, because that also... Although technically I could also just go with almonds, but let's do... So Olympi also wants Forge, so if we did... I mean, some of those, there are some pretty straightforward ones. We've got a ham and cheese toasty, we've got poached mackerel. Poached mackerel is a slightly more appealing one because of the... like, you don't have to give up something like bread for it. So let's say... yeah, let's say that we'll poach mackerel. Now, for Strathcoin, it's scale. Scale's not that hard to get for the different the different foods. A lot of main courses in here, so the different pies, the beef. I may go for the roast beef just because it's a little more straightforward. So then the question is, what do I do grail-wise? So we don't have a side dish yet. Magnificent roast potatoes would cover that, though. Oh, yeah, actually, here we go. Okay, so beef. And then I think we can kind of get by with anything for Denzel. So we could do another side dish. I'm thinking maybe just add some more almonds. So that suggests to me I should be buying some almonds. Alternatively, roast potato. You know, I can do magnificent and roast potatoes. Lots of potatoes. And then we'll worry about all the drinks for that later. But what I wanted to, the reason why I wanted to take the time to work out sort of a guest list and um, the different ingredients was I think I'm due for a TRN order. So let's maybe do 4 for almonds and a beef. And then we also get to actually make all this stuff. So we've got some ordinary potatoes here. We don't have the dripping yet. Oh, holy cow. We have lots of almonds already. All right. Maybe I won't do 4, but I will still get the almonds. But yeah, so we're short on dripping. We also short on beef. So maybe I'll get 2 of those. So perhaps instead of the potatoes for now, let's just take the sugar. And we will... Actually, I could have done fudge, because of course so. But we'll start with the orange jumble. So, oh, I keep forgetting the spicing. This is why nobody wants cookies. Make an orange jumble. Dish with forge, grail, heart, and lantern. Okay. I am a little conscious of the fact that I'm going to be sort of storming into work just shortly after this. It's like, hey, why are you late? Like, I was playing my little occult dollhouse, making a dinner for everybody. Okay, we've also got our mackerel, which we will poach, but I'm going to need the elements of the soul to do that. I think we're good to unpause finally. Ooh, a sunny day. Okay, so there is sometimes some potential out of that. I don't think we need to worry about it now, though. Again, Reverend Timothy isn't an option that we would look for, and we don't have any sky or lantern to play around with. So I'm just going to let that stick around. Okay, so because I don't have the beef, we'll get a second one just in case we need an extra. And I'm a little curious if we could fit the beef on this line here. I think I'll skip the almonds, but I'll maybe get a replacement ham. Okay, so we've got the servants' quarters. When Hendrik de Wolf left behind the life of a mercenary, he appointed his quartermaster as head of his new household. This would have drawn little comment, except that his quartermaster was a woman, the soft-spoken, steely-willed Ernestine Peterhans. For more than 5 decades, these rooms were her unchallenged domain. Even in her 80th year, she still walked her rounds every day, and the servants would fall silent at the distant jingle of her keys. So we've got a few different beds here, servants' quarters beds. So these are a little bit like the hospital. So it says narrow but comfortable. We've got a basket of clean linen, a nighttime luxury, and we've got 2 packages, a slim parcel, so this will likely have some kind of drink inside of it, and then the contraband jetsam. So we also talked about how when I want, I can try opening up the wounded room, although it would probably be better to try and take advantage of some of the stuff we can use with Denzel before too long. Moving on though, we've got our next beef. And if I can get a ham, I think I'll get the ham, but otherwise we'll keep it a little simpler. Okay, so that's a different order form. I will mention I'm playing this while there is a postal strike in my country, so I'm actually a little salty about having to do the TRN order form. And the reason for this, not to be too much of a whiner, because this will end at the end. I did do a Weather Factory Etsy shop order, and the shipment was on the wrong side of the strike. So right now it's just sitting in a post office somewhere, being held hostage. Ah well. Post a completed TRN order form. Complete the order. So let's see if we can make something happen with Cater and Hero. I think probably a ham would be in order, but we might want to pick something else up. Order dripping from Cater and Hero. No, what am I doing? I don't want dripping. All right, well, we'll have a spare. You know what? The potatoes. So we'll get 2 of those. The postmistress signs and seals the order and places it in the place stamped orders are properly placed. Wait 3 days, she commands. Ooh, I got started later than I wanted. This may have to be a slightly shorter episode. I'm just looking at the time. But I'll try and make it work. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Okay. So, I don't think invitations would be a bad idea for me to be writing at this point. We'll at least get the ones that I can. So, I think with... No, actually with Fraser, if we add... No, hang on. I think he needs 7. No, there we go. Okay, so Strathcoin's definitely coming. Now I have an idea of the book's nature and its contents. Yet another Hennebeck book. This is actually kind of neat because I don't think I've read The Tripled Heart. Or maybe I have, but... The Most Sorrowful End of the Lady Nona. An unauthorized account of the death of Abbess Nona, written by Eusebiah, one of the 2 sisters accused of having murdered Nona through poisoning and arts unsanctioned. Eusebiah, awaiting execution, intends to hide this account in her cell. And we have the Chandler's Wish, formula and instructions invoking Moth, Lantern, and exceptionally, paradoxically, the liminal and theoretical hour called the Chandler. The author is anonymous, admitting only that they are one who is not yet nameless. Okay, so these are a little... These are not easy to read, and I'm gonna... Against my better judgment, I'm gonna make a shelf for 12s. Okay, so there's the 8. Yeah, I don't know. We'll work with this right now, but I'm trying to avoid having the library sort of fan out over these other shelves because I am starting to get to a point where I need the shelves for other work. Okay, so we got the dripping, we got the potatoes. We'll go for a second potatoes, and then we will also get the ham. Unless the ham was on the other order form and I completely missed it, and then I'll just feel like a fool. Okay, so dripping, flour, milk, potatoes, butter, sugar, tea. Yep, don't see. Oh, there it is. There's the ham. Order a can of ham from Cater and Hero. Now I just need to post it. All right, so here is Strathcoin's invitation. Now, for the rest of them, what it really comes down to is whether the ink supports the invitation. So basically, we need either a skill that's already at 3 in terms of its level, or we need somebody who is invited through Edge, Grail, Moon, or Scale. So I think in the case of Serena and maybe Madame Bechet, we should be good. So if I use Edict's Liminal, and then open up the writing case. complete the order. And we almost have our fare. The postmistress signs and seals the order and places it in the place stamped orders are properly placed. Wait 3 days, she commands. And we have a little more change now, too. Alright, let's see. The forge stuff should be available to me because we've already... Oop, that's Ambrose's desk. Because we have bells and braziers. So that should cover us with Serena and with... or hang on. Right, Madame Bichet is moth, Serena's forge, both in terms of food and... Okay, so Corso's the only question mark. Well, no, Corso's not a question mark because we have desires into solutions, so we'll just do that at Ava's desk. Okay, I just need to post it. And where are you? I keep forgetting. Corso is Grail for food. He's not Grail for lantern. That's why I was doubting that I could bring him in. Okay. So we've got Serena, Olympi, Fraser. Corso is not yet invited. Oh, hang on. I still need... Oh, actually, this is a... No, we got it. We'll just use the desk. I was going to say we need to generate a memory, but we have the sunny day. Which I think it's the fact that it was the sunny day might have been the catalyst for me saying I should do the invitations now, and then it promptly flew out of my head. Okay, Corso's on his way. I have enough here to craft a letter inviting Corso to Brand Crew. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is spring and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie with the pilkered heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. I'm changing my order. Okay, there's more Catwink. I think we'll still make a sort of a reserve of these because even though we have enough to cover the book, I always tend to find I'm playing catch-up on this one, so I don't have a ton of uses for the Tryst as it currently is. So it seems like a nice little time to catch up. Some of the times I think about... there's actually a couple things I'll say in terms of the game. One is specific to the moment here, and then one is a little bit more general. Make orange jumble, a dish with forge, grail, heart, and lantern. I'm trying to think... Garden wouldn't be a terrible place. Yeah, we don't get to use the garden all the time, so we'll move the Roscragen whiskey. We do not yet have the wine... Oh, we do have the wine cellar open, so... Put a second one over there. We may serve that in the salon, but... what I was going to say was... I sometimes feel that when... Like, so I have a bit of a weird way of playing just because I find it a fun little puzzle to try and move the different... you know, like basically try and make the most of a small number of elements of the soul, or to build a very specific tree of wisdoms. And like, it works for me, but I would never say that this is the ideal way to play for someone, right? It's ideal if you have a specific set of things that you want to accomplish. And there's lots of different games that support that. You know, Book of Hours isn't unique for that. But I do tend to find that a lot of my decisions do tend to be, okay, I don't have an immediate use for this element of the soul, but what is the next thing that I'm probably going to need from it? So for instance, Catwink has proven to be very helpful in terms of bringing in the people that I wouldn't normally be able to. And then of course on top of that, I'll have lots of uses for just generic inks as my skills go up. So you can sort of think of the fact that even though I'm pounding out a lot of catwink, and I could be using it for something like Crowcross Sands to get maybe more fish or something like that, in this case, I don't have an urgent need for the tryst. We can do the fishing and all of that later. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just sort of treating this as if I'm getting like a future tryst later on in a like in a future episode. I'm not going to have to make an ink in a future period. The other one that I notice, and this is more in a general comment, but when I look at something like the subreddit or when I am talking with people on their own, I've noticed that over time there's this feeling of like a perfect tree of wisdoms that has been creeping in. And it's easy to see why, right? So there are a few things that if I'm sitting down and thinking of it as a game and trying to achieve certain outcomes as efficiently as possible, there are a few things that I just wouldn't do. So for instance, as long as I have a pudding, I'm really not going to, I'm not going to want to make an orange jumble. I'm going to want to put the almonds down because the almonds already give me forage, right? If I need, or let's say I need a side dish with forage, why would I put down, you know, why would I put down any other side dish but poached mackerel, which will only ever require, like, you know, instead of a ham and cheese toasty, like just put down the poached mackerel because that gets me the forage and I don't need to give up the ham and the bread. And you can say this for a few other ways, right? So it's like, well, why even use the element of the soul for the poached mackerel? Why not just serve almonds? So this, of course, I think most people would answer misses the point. It's fun to put together the feast. It's fun to put together the different dinners. But mechanically, you know, there's actually some arguments against making some of these particular dishes just because they are quote unquote hard to do in the sense of the things that you give up. But again, you know, you have lots of money in the game. You have an infinite amount of time. There's no real reason to stress out about it. But the same logic applies to the Tree of Wisdoms, and it applies to elements of the soul. When you first play this game, the game is beatable. I don't think anybody who wants to beat this game doesn't beat this game because of the way that the cards are laid out. They may not because they don't want to put the time in. I'm not going to say that everyone who plays this game beats it, but they do so because, you know, they make a choice about how they want to spend their time. But again, because it's a game and because there are discussions, there's very often this idea of the ideal path through the Tree of Wisdoms or where the best places to put things are. And I think that's a little mistaken. One, because of course the books are randomly assigned, so you may find it advantageous to commit a certain skill ahead of another one just because it gives you certain elements of the soul that you need. You can see that through this playthrough here. But second of all, of course, so much of the game is the discovery. And so to spend too much time worrying about the Tree of Wisdoms, and I'm guilty of this, right? I already have more or less a tree that I want to pursue, at least in very broad strokes. I have a pretty clear idea of where I'm going to put all of my elements of the soul here. But this idea of getting a little too obsessed with it, again, sometimes is counter to the idea of how the game works. It's not that hard to make most of the things inside the game. And in fact, as you start closing off those different paths, or not paths, but you start using those lower nodes, you have to have higher level skills to go higher up in the Tree of Wisdom. So I don't actually think there's a way to stop yourself from getting into an ideal spot. Even something like Edict's Martial, which sort of has unique crafting. So, you know, the Wormwood Dream, the old wound and things like that. Those really, even if you committed that to the first of the brand or the first node on one of those branches, there's nothing stopping you from leveling it up when you find it useful. So, for what it's worth, for those of you who've been really stressing out about the different skills and such, I do sometimes think that there's some value in reminding people that it's a. Did I forget to? I'm pretty sure I forgot to get a scale. Shame on me. Okay. We will use Natan's desk for that. It's going to be a little late in the day, and we're going to have to do that at another time because I am at exactly 30 minutes, and I'm also probably like 10 minutes behind where I wanted to be for getting out of the apartment, but that's fine. Anyways, okay, so I didn't mean to end on a rant, but I didn't manage my time well. I am so sorry for this being such a clowny week, but I am, in terms of this session, we got our invitations written. We are starting on our, I don't know why I'm highlighting this. We've already got the orange shovel. We're starting on the picnic. I think we can probably have that done in the next couple of days. I guess the beef's going to be the, ooh, actually, yeah, if I don't get that beef done, it's going to be, it's actually going to be quite late in the season. But that's fine. It'll be fun. Even if I have a funny idea, fun. We will deal with all of this in tomorrow's episode. I'll probably try and record that tomorrow. Thank you for watching as always, although I understand if you just decided to skip over this week's. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.